Good morning. The meeting will now come to order. Welcome to this meeting of the Charlotte Unified Development Board of Adjustment on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. My name is Deborah Dryden, and I am chair of the board. Would the board members please go around and state their name for the record? Marshall?
Marshall Williamson. Kevin Shea.
Welcome to this meeting of the Charlotte Unified Development Board of Adjustment on Tuesday, February. Okay,
Hamilton Court.
Amy Lange's son.
thank you. Also present are Solomon Fortune, our zoning administrator, John Kinley, the senior project manager, Crystal Monsegur, our planner, Kamisha Lampley, the clerk to the board, Nicole Hewitt, assistant city attorney, advisor to the board, and Elizabeth Majors, the Veritex court reporter. Each of today's hearings is a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing. That means it is like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how the board must make its decision. These rules are different from other types of land use decisions like rezoning cases. The board's discretion is limited, and the board must base its decision upon competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record. A quasi-judicial decision is not a popularity contest. It is a decision constrained by the standards and the ordinance and based on the facts presented. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and ordinance standards, not personal preference or opinion. General witness testimony is limited to facts. For certain topics, this board needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts of increased traffic. Individuals providing expert opinion must be qualified as experts and provide the factual evidence upon which they base their expert opinion. While hearsay evidence is not specifically excluded, it is only given limited weight. Parties with standing have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Parties are limited to the applicant, the city, and individuals who can show they will suffer special damages. Other individuals may provide testimony as witnesses when recognized by the board. Witnesses must swear or affirm their testimony. Any individual wishing to speak as a witness today was required to sign up. If you haven't done so, please do so now. The parties to each case are entitled to an impartial decision maker. A board member may not participate in a hearing if they have a fixed opinion about the matter, a financial interest in the outcome of the matter, or a close familial business or associational relationship with an affected person. The parties to each case also have a right for any ex parte communication to be disclosed. Ex parte communication is any communication about the case outside of the hearing. That may include site visits as well as conversations with parties or the general public. At the start of each case, any potential conflict of interest or ex parte communication should be disclosed by a board member if applicable. These matters may also be raised by an affected party. Our senior assistant city attorney and advisor to the planning staff, Therese Hagler-Gray, has joined us this morning. Welcome, Therese. Today's meeting will follow the order printed on the agenda. The order of the regular agenda will be as follows. All parties who plan to give testimony must be sworn in. A city staff member will present a summary of the case. The board may question the staff member, and then the applicant questions the staff member. The applicant presents their testimony for the case, and any sworn witnesses provide testimony. The board and city staff may question the applicant and their witnesses. Other parties wishing to speak for or against a case will be given reasonable time to present sworn testimony. The staff and then the applicant will be given an opportunity for a rebuttal. After hearing each case, the board will review each case and render a decision. This is usually done in closed deliberations after hearing each case. The chairperson calls for a motion and a second to approve or deny the variance or appeal. The decision will be made by a simple majority vote of the board. However, the board may elect to take up to 30 days to render a decision. You may remain present during the deliberations, or you may call the zoning staff after the session to receive the decision of the board. If you wish to receive a written copy of the decision letter, please indicate so on the sign-in sheet. All exhibits must remain with the board. If your case is not appealed to Superior Court after 30 days, you may pick them up or they will be destroyed. Appeal from this board is to the Mecklenburg County Superior Court. You have 30 days from the date of the board's written decision in which to appeal in accordance with NCGS 160D-405D. Before we begin, I'd like to swear in, please, John and Crystal and Solomon. So if there are any questions, we won't have to stop. Thank you. All right, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give to the board and the action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you very much. Okay, we now open the evidentiary hearing for case number or variance number 2024-00063. The property is located at 801 East Arrowhead Road. And before we begin, does any board member have a conflict of interest or potential conflict or ex parte communication they need to disclose? Right. All right. Me too. Okay.
Testing 1, 2, 3. You can hear me? Okay. All right. We have 3 items on the agenda. They're all recommended by staff. I don't think there's anybody here to speak in opposition for them. So we'll just continue on as the agenda is printed. The first item is variance 2024-063 for Gray Star Development East LLC. How do I get this to go away? Sorry, let me move that out of the way. It's represented by John Carmichael, and it's for property located at 801 East Arrowwood Road, owned by 801 East Arrowwood LLC. They're asking for 3 variance requests to construct a multifamily development. A variance from table 13-1B, which is to expand the size of the frontage build-to zone along Old Pineville Road and East Arrowwood Road. The ordinance requires a build-to zone of 0 to 10 feet, meaning that your building has to be within 0 to 10 feet of the back. I think it's back of sidewalk. I'm looking at Solomon if that's correct. Along Old Pineville Road, they're wanting to increase that from 0 to 35 feet. And along East Arrowwood Road, increase that to 0 to 65 feet. And then a variance to Article 16.6 for the apartment buildings that are along Old Pineville Road frontage and the amenity building to eliminate their pedestrian connection to the adjacent public sidewalk along Old Pineville Road, and instead provide an indirect sidewalk connection to either Old Pineville Road or a proposed private street that will run along the northern stretch of the property, which we'll see when I get to the site plan. And then a variance from 16.6 for the apartment building that would be located along Arrowwood Road frontage to eliminate the pedestrian connection to the adjacent sidewalk along Arrowwood, and instead provide that either via connection to an existing sidewalk on adjacent driveway connection that they propose to connect with a vehicular connection. And if that doesn't work out, then their other option would be to have an indirect internal connection to the sidewalk along Old Pineville Road. And we'll see why they're asking for those in a moment. It's mainly due to topography. This is the site at near the intersection at East Airwood Road and South Boulevard, but it's directly on the corner of East Airwood and Old Pineville Road. It's just north of the Airwood Transit Station. I think it maybe have used to have been a Walmart or some other big box store, and it's gone. Thinking around the COVID time period, it got renovated to be like a call center or something like that. So the facade of the building has changed, but it's lived its life, and now they're proposing a multifamily development under the TODCC zoning of the site. And you can see here the aerial photos showing the big box store and surrounding parking that's around the building. Again, there's another site map, a zoomed in aerial, and here's a street view, and you can kind of start to see what we're talking about when I say topography. Old Pineville Road dropping down on the left hand side of the screen there, and you can see a retaining wall and then the parking lot in front of the building and the building in the distance there. Again, it's 3 variance requests to construct a multifamily development. I won't rehash all 3 of those again, but it's basically a change to the build to zone for both frontages, and then allowing basically indirect sidewalk connections to the streets. This is their site plan, at least as it was presented to us. I think there's been some modifications here and there, but nothing that affects this variance request. So you have 3 apartment buildings, 1 on Airwood frontage, 2 on Old Pineville, and then their amenity building up here on the corner. And then this is the proposed private street that I mentioned that's coming through the site. This is the driveway on the adjacent property, and they are proposing to work with that neighboring property owner to have a driveway connection. So if there's a sidewalk connection possible here, that would be one option. And then for this building, and then their other option for this building would have it be to wrap around and connect up through here or through here. It's hard to kind of see on this map, but basically this gray, dark gray line is their required build to zone of 0 to 10 feet. And you can kind of see it on this, it's a little faded, but there's steep topo here on Airwood Road. You saw the retaining wall along Old Pineville Road. And due to that, they're not able to meet the build to zone requirement. Here's a cross section of Old Pineville Road, and this is taken roughly down here at near to the intersection. That retaining wall in that location is 13 feet tall. And you can see that the sidewalk and pedestrian facilities along the street are down below the retaining wall. So their required pedestrian connections here would have to get to the adjacent sidewalk, you would have to traverse that retaining wall or grade the entire site down to be even with the streets. And so to avoid doing all of that grading and having weird staircases and weird ADA ramps and stuff like that, they're proposing to have an indirect sidewalk connection that would either come out here or connect out and come out there, and then setting the buildings further back to avoid having to regrade as well. This is the street view along Old Pineville Road. You can see just the expanse of that retaining wall. It is massive and goes pretty much all the way from the intersection of Airwood Road, which is where the street view camera is here at the bottom of the screen, all the way up to basically the main first driveway into the Walmart parking lot where the very first street view picture was taken. That's where the kind of tapers down to nothing. I did a rough measurement with a bird's eye imagery and got the highest extent of that retaining wall about 20 feet. So it is quite high. And this occurred in sometime between 2000 and 2007 and 2008. An extension to Old Pineville Road was created. You can see it at the very top of the 2007 image. That's the curve of Old Pineville Road. And sometime around 2008, they extended that to come down and connect in where the driveway for the Walmart connected in. And when they did that construction, that's when the retaining wall was created. This is the Airwood Road street frontage. Again, you can see the topo here. I think the elevation of the parking lot is about 644 feet in elevation. The intersection is at roughly 618, 619 in elevation. And up at the top of this driveway, that's 642, and it slopes down to 620 at this point here. So again, the site would have to be graded down to match the street in order for them to come close to meeting the ordinance requirement of that 0 to 10 foot build to zone. And here's the street view along Airwood Road. And you can see how it slopes down towards the intersection. Parking lot and grade is all that is up here, which is where they're working to build their development at. And that retaining wall even wraps the corner a little bit. And here's another view just from the site, kind of towards the intersection. You can see how it does slope down dramatically. And this is in the parking lot looking out towards the intersection. The intersection's here. And you just see how elevated the site is compared to the adjacent street network. These are the locations where, oh, what's going on there? Did I do that?